Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to yet another episode of ACCA's Fireside Chat. Today we've got with us one of the most inspirational personalities, Mr. Hassan Daud Butt, who is the CEO of KP Board of Investment and Trade. Hassan Saab, Assalamu Alaikum, and a very warm welcome to you on our Fireside Chat. Thank you so much for making it. हम शुरू करेंगे. We would like to learn a little bit about you. Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? Where did you go to school? Where did you go to college? And what was the world like when you were growing up?
Born in early 70s, and then later my father was in the Navy, so we traveled around the world. We went to some Middle East countries, and then later to Southeast Asia. And growing up, my passion was first of all sports. I represented some of the local teams, especially playing hockey, and then from there I always wanted to serve the country in whatever way I could. So there we decided that I should become part of the public sector overall development framework. So from there later, as the luck would have it, I went to China representing the government as a diplomat, served in China and Vietnam for 4 years. And when I came back, I left the service and started teaching and representing academia. But then later the government, again, when they were working on the China-Pakistan economic corridor, looking at my experience working in China and some linguistic skills that I had vis-a-vis Mandarin, so they asked me to come and be part of the overall CPEC project. And again later, I was made the project director for the China-Pakistan economic corridor. From there, after spending 4 years, I thought I should move into a new domain where there is a potential of working across projects, especially in the tourism sector, the development sector. So when the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government asked me for becoming the CEO, I said yes. And from CPEC, which was largely a Chinese Pakistan framework, I went into a provincial domain. There also we have several CPEC projects, but mostly it's about investment, creating that pull factor, the enabling environment where the investors could feel free to move. Right now, the areas that I'm working in is in terms of initiative is the ease of doing business initiative, working on the pull factor, making the industrial policy that can promote not just industrialization but also the SME sector and cottage industry. So I think I'm happy the way that I have transformed my career from a public sector to an investment related professional, and all along it's been very rewarding, I guess.
And what are your views on ethics and having strong code of moral conduct, whether it be your personal life or whether it be your professional life?
Well, as a professional, I have 3 shades to my life. One is my domestic end, where I represent my family, and of course being eldest son amongst the 3 siblings, I had more responsibility. But from there, as a Pakistani and as a professional working for the government, naturally we look at ethics now, and this is one of the fundamentals. And again, I teach projects management in certain public and private sector universities. I have dedicated 1 day of my entire weekly program for teaching in any university that asks me for this. So for that, one subject that's very close to me is the ethics subject, whether they are project managers or accountants, they all need to, and I think our country needs more professional approach to save government's exchequer, but we also need ethical approach so that we become better professional and we can tell the world that you come and invest in Pakistan and we will follow the ethical path.
So focused जो है ethics के ऊपर, we have witnessed just in the sort of recent month or couple year, we have noticed that ethical जो focus है ethical practices के ऊपर वो बहुत ज़्यादा increase हो गया, whether it be public sector or whether it be private sector, but economy पे उसका बहुत अभी minimal sort of impact नज़र आ रहा है. Do you think that this is something that is going to gradually pick up? What are your views?
Ethics has three dimensions to it. One is the respect part, and of course the cultural part, and the norms part within a professional career. I think the respect part stems from our cultural heritage that we have, and within our family structure we have this, and when we move into our professions we respect our seniors. And then what are we learning right now is, now that the world is opening up for us with CPEC, KPBOIT and other regional initiatives that are coming, we are learning the cross-cultural part. We're learning how to work with multicultural teams, and this is where I think we need to learn faster. And your question regarding its impact, I think it is gradually coming in. I see that when I work with academia, when I work with the public sector, and also with private sector. And also in public sector, we see that these international donors, when they talk of their respective projects in capacity building, say tourism in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they keep the ethics part within the overall framework of its implementation. So, and also now the government is looking at better models of governance, so that when the public sector and the leadership looks at ethics and better governance through e-governance perhaps, this is going to change. The other aspect that would change us all is the digitization of the economy, and the monitoring and evaluation aspect that comes in the public sector enterprises, state-owned enterprises. Because if you have better monitoring and evaluation, as we call it at the SAB, in the overall process of who is doing, I mean, you cannot compare somebody who is doing well to a person who is not doing well. So in public sector now, with the new governance structure coming in, people would be rewarded if they do well, and would be penalized for not doing too well.
So coming back to CPEC, what in your opinion, or how is CPEC going to impact the life of an average Pakistani out there?
You see, it's a frequently asked question.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Through the industrialization and through the industrial cooperation, and also the trade and business and trade relationship that we have evolved from a strategic prism to a more of a trade and commerce prism, I can see that when these SEZs would come in, this would create about 400,000 jobs. This is, in a political democratic setup, jobs are, and also the socio-economic development of, say, less developed areas is key to sustainability, economic sustainability. So I think now that we've always had a strong partner in China, but now it's becoming our trading partner.
Of course.
And this, perhaps, there's a huge consumer market available for our agri products, for some of the things that we can produce here and then sell it to China. The other aspect that the government is looking at, where I guess again we will have the economic development, is looking at industry, export-led industry, and industry that can bring in import substitution. So if that happens, and I hope that happens quicker than it's been planned, so when that happens, this is going to generate not just jobs, but it will transform the way that we do business. And I think institution and organization like ACCA have a key role to play, not just to tailor the respective professional requirement, but also telling people that what kind of opportunities there are. In our process of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor earlier, when we were articulating the long-term plans, we worked on a SWOT analysis, and while we looked at some of the opportunities and threats, we realized that HR, while it's an opportunity, a good human resource HR, it can be one of the constraints if we do not have enough trained, skilled labor.
Exactly.
So this is where the government is now focused on. We understand that the trade linkages with China and with the rest of the world are improving. We see a huge market domestically with 202 million people, and of course we also see China. We see countries in ASEAN have done exceedingly well by just leveraging what China offers to them and what they can offer to China. So we are very close to China, and I think they are helping us not just in agriculture but also in economic frameworks, helping us in business relationship, and lastly helping us in socio-economic, like healthcare, like vocational training, like education. So what we need to understand, I think, is that it's not just an economic cooperation, it's also in a long term. And I, as an academician, if I could say, when a weaker nation or a less developed nation works together with or develop partnership with a stronger, economically stronger nation, it's always the less developed nation or an economically less stronger nation, it benefits more than.
Of course. I mean, CPEC is, we all know it's a great initiative. Obviously, Pakistan is going to benefit a lot. China and other countries are also going to benefit from it. But my question would be, and speaking of HR, do we have any human resource policies in place whereby an average Pakistani out there is going to benefit from CPEC?
You see, in terms of developing our human resource, and if you look at the employment outlook, say if you take CPEC as a case study, even if there is no CPEC or there is no CAREC, we still need to develop our human resource because we want to become stronger economically. Unless we do not become stronger economically, our strategic issues will not be resolved where we, so all those countries which have done well, like say Bangladesh in the region, like Malaysia, Indonesia is doing fairly well, and up till the coronavirus, the Chinese and Indian economy. So if our neighbors can do well, I think we also need to do well. It's just human resource wise, I believe that our youngsters need to understand that they need to develop their skills, develop them based on the new technologies that are coming, so that it would not just be Pakistan which will be there playing turf. They can go and work outside wherever they get better salaries or the enabling environment. So they should prepare themselves for the challenge that is coming.
Because it's not just the government and the policies, it's up to us as well as Pakistanis to take full responsibility to beef up our skill sets and be more employable. China, sir, you have a lot of experience in China. We've seen sort of a rise in China as an economy, as a country, and it does differ from the rest of the world in terms of the way they are, whether it be their culture, whether it be the way they conduct business. What is the secret behind their success?
I think hard work. And the sacrifices they've made. When I went first time, I remember, the focus was only towards development. So if any nation, including Pakistan, if we are willing to make those sacrifices, nobody can stop us, because in terms of the potential, I think we have more potential to a normal Chinese. So if we can just tap that potential and build efficiency. Wherever I go, I'm part of some of the leading private and public sector universities, and when I get the opportunity to speak to students and to the faculty, I always say that one is that we need to build the entrepreneurial skills amongst the youngsters, and also we need to build in the efficiency and respect part. In China, they don't call their bosses as boss, but they call them as their leader. And also we need to understand this and respect our elders, our bosses. And when we do that, build that efficiency part within us, because the competition is there. All the Chinese nation, and if you look at some of our competitors, I think their efficiency level is better than us, but we are, I think, incrementally moving that way.
So, on that note, in your opinion, what are the 3 things that you would like to share with our audiences in Pakistan? कौन सी वो 3 चीजें हैं, biggest takeaways that we can actually learn from China?
I think efficiency, one, hard work, and commitment to the nation. I think these are 3 things. This nation culture under the Confucius leadership philosophy, I think is one of the key driving factors. And these things, efficiency, leadership, and nation building, if we can just incorporate those in our daily way of life, I guess we have more potential than any nation. The other thing is that we should get ourselves more attached to our culture, I guess. They are quite close to their culture. Naturally, they have the longest living culture in human race.
On CPEC, sir, and you must get this a lot, I believe. Who's going to benefit more? Will it be China or Pakistan?
I mean, China can benefit more from any other corridor within the Belt and Road Initiative. I think for me, having worked closely with CPEC from its early days when I was in China, and then later coming here and working on its long-term plan, the Gawada development plan, the master planning part, I think it's all the way it's Pakistan, and this will not just improve us in terms of the business and trade, it would also improve us in the way that we do our businesses. We will improve professionally, because competition always helps, and we will improve in terms of market access that we'll get around the world.
So do you think that there are a lot of misconceptions about the Chinese investment in Pakistan, both locally here in Pakistan and abroad globally?
You see, if you study Chinese history and if you look at Deng Xiaoping's era, similar concerns were there with the Chinese, because they're more of an introvert society. So when foreigners through their FDI were coming in Shenzhen, in Guangzhou, in Shanghai and some of the other coastal areas, these concerns were there in Chinese also, and similar to perhaps the East India concern that we have. But gradually they learn that when they have this good structure which can safeguard national interest and also interest of the entire population, it always benefits them. And I've been speaking to several Chinese and how has this transformation been. And I think they said that we had concerns earlier, but now gradually when we have more money in our pocket and a better car to drive, we find it useful. So I think we are also going through that notion, and perhaps in next 5 years, when we see industrial setups across Pakistan, when we see better hospitals and better trade relationship, our economy getting better, I think we will also enjoy the luxury.
So you just mentioned that the Chinese accountants would have an edge in terms of their analytical skills, and is that another area that you really want our accountants and professional accountants in Pakistan to focus on?
It's not just because we are working with Chinese, so we need to develop this skill. I think the speed to process data. You see, the accountants of 5 years from now would be more of strategic, let me find a better word, would be strategic decision makers and business leaders. Yeah. So when you include the strategic part, I think whenever, even in military and elsewhere also, the time to react would be less, because decisions would be, say, in case of merger and acquisitions, and some of the opportunities that are emerging right now in the region as we speak. Perhaps time to react would be less, and the business owners would expect a better time-phased response from their accountants and CFOs. So I think that is one area where they need to work. But there are about 3 ACCA employees that I have, and I'm quite happy the way that they respond and that they work. But it's just that they need to look around, look outside Pakistan and some of the practices that are
and learn.
Yeah.
Hassan Saab, thank you very much. It has been absolutely a pleasure having you on ACCA's Fireside Chat. I'm sure that everybody is going to truly benefit from all that you have shared with us today. Thank you very much.